My name is Mrs. Parks, and I'd like to read you the Bible story for this week. This story is from the book of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible, and it's chapter 37 and also chapter 50. The story is about Joseph and his brother. Joseph lived with his family in Canaan, and he was one of the many sons of his father named Jacob. And Jacob seemed to spend more time with Joseph than all the other brothers. In fact, he even made a very special coat for Joseph. It seemed to the brothers like their father loved him more than he loved them, and they also felt sad and angry. One night, Joseph had a dream. The next morning, he was rushing to tell everybody. He said, "You won't believe it. I dreamt we were all out in the field, and the grain stood in front of me and bowed to me. Can you believe it? They all gathered around and bowed. Isn't that exciting?" Well, his brothers didn't think that was very exciting. In fact, they were jealous, and they thought, why does he get special treatment? So Joseph hung his head and walked away kind of sadly. Well, guess what happened the next night? He had another dream. He dreamt that he told everybody about it in the morning. He said that when he was at night, he was up in the sky, and he saw the sun, the moon, and the stars, and they all bowed down to him just because they were honoring him and they thought he was so wonderful. Isn't that amazing? The sun, the moon, and the stars bowing just to me? Well, as you can imagine, his brothers were really angry now. And they told his father, and he said, the father said, "What do you mean your mother and I don't bow down to you? You're not a king." And then they sort of forgot about it for a while. All of his brothers were taking the sheep out to the pasture for several days, in fact. And their father sent Joseph to go find the brothers. Well, when he found the brothers thought, "Oh, Joseph's all by himself. We can get rid of him. Let's throw him in that pit, and then we won't have to deal with him anymore with all his silly dreams." But luckily, after he was thrown into the pit, because he could have just died there, but luckily, a group of traders walked by, and they were from Egypt, and the brothers said, "Hey, we could probably sell our brother to these people and get rid of him forever." So they did. They sold him to the people in Egypt, and Joseph went to Egypt to live for many, many years. And he had a hard time living there, but he prayed to God a lot and believed in God and trusted that God would take good care of him. And people in Egypt discovered that Joseph was good at interpreting dreams. He could tell people what their dreams meant. And finally, the Pharaoh, who was like the king of all of Egypt, heard about Joseph's special talent, and he had a strange dream that he wanted Joseph to tell him about. So he called Joseph into the palace to see if he could tell him about his dream. And he had dreamt that there were 7 healthy, fat cows in his dream. And then right after that, there were 7 ugly, sick, skinny cows, and they ate those fat cows. And the Pharaoh said, "What did that mean? I can't understand why I would dream such a silly thing." Well, God helped Joseph. Joseph told the Pharaoh what his dream meant. God told Joseph that it meant there was going to be 7 years of lots of food in Egypt. But then there was going to be 7 years with no food, and people would go hungry. So the Pharaoh asked Joseph to be in charge of saving food from the 7 years when there was going to be lots of food. So he stored food and stored food and stored food. And then when the famine came, when there was no food, he could help the people and they wouldn't starve. Well, people came from all over to get the food from Joseph in Egypt. And one day, his brothers showed up. And they didn't even recognize Joseph because it had been many years since they'd seen him. But Joseph knew his brothers. and he gave them lots and lots of food. He said, I have food for you and food for the whole family so that you will not be hungry. Please bring everyone here to Egypt, and I will take care of them, give them a place to stay and land to grow things in. So they did. The whole family came, and they all had plenty to eat during the famine. And they decided that the brothers went up to Joseph and said, "What? You can't be. Don't treat us as your brothers, because we've been so terrible to you." They felt so awful they could hardly know what to say, just like me. And then finally, and he said, "You're always going to be my brothers. I will always love you, and I will always care for you. So don't think that you're not my brothers. I love you and I care for you." And God turned something bad into something good. And Joseph was happy and his brothers were happy from then on. So that's our story. And you might want to think about dreams that you've had and what they mean. And you also might want to think about how Joseph might have felt when he saw his brothers show up after many, many years. Have a great day.